Sermon for the first Sunday after Trinity, the 12th of June 2020. It is good to be reminded in our Gospel text this morning of the names of those 12 great heroes to whom many churches all over the world are dedicated. They are often depicted in stained glass. I think I'm right in saying that all 12 disciples can be seen in the stained glass at St Andrew's, Iceland. Sadly, I can't easily check as I'm writing this. Hopefully by the time that you are reading this, the church doors will be ready to be opened again on Monday, so you can go back and check. I can't either tell you whether the Iceland collection has Thaddeus included as in today's Gospel, or Judas, son of James, or Jude, as we get in Luke's list of the disciples. Perhaps they are one and the same person. You could understand people being a bit careful about a second disciple called Judas. Small reminder, perhaps, that the Bible takes some careful reading and is not always an easy instruction manual. One of the dangers of a gospel text like this morning is it plays into a historical theory which was popular in the 19th century, sometimes referred to as the great man theory. In this, you tell the story of history by only referring to, you guessed it, great men or other heroes, who due to their wonderful attributes bring about the major changes in history through battles, discoveries and other forms of power grab. All too often this is still the way people view history. Thinking about 1066 and all that, Richard III and his forlorn request for a horse, Henry VIII and his many wives, the great Victorian explorers, missionaries, scientists, inventors, Winston Churchill leading the country in time of war. It is easy, if we are to follow this version of history, to think only of these great men, only these chosen 12, only those specially chosen for the task can go out and work mighty acts in the name of God. I think I'd like to argue that it isn't such great men who are important ones in the story of the church. Sure, there are those who have had an enormous impact. We might think of people like Billy Graham, J. John, maybe our favourite Pope, Archbishop or Bishop. Though I imagine some of these great men, or maybe even women in some cases, have at some point impacted our faith journey. I'd imagine for most of us they won't be the most significant players in our lives as Christians. Most of those most significant players are likely to be people whose names aren't known by quite as many people. Their names are unlikely to be inscribed in books or depicted in stained glass. One of the reasons I'm so keen to reopen our church doors is the remembrance of the many anonymous souls who for hundreds of years have made our churches places of prayer. They've been prayed in times of plenty and of famine, in sickness and in health, through war and through peace. Family, friends and neighbours have been prayed for. Each time I pray the words that Jesus taught us in our churches, I'm conscious of how many other souls have uttered those words in the same space. Those with whom the silent echo of my words join into a mighty throng. Many of these voices will not be of great men, but they are an intrinsic part of the witness of the church in our villages. We are inheritors of the faith of these our forebears. The works which are listed at the end of our gospel might seem like they are beyond us, but we too can play our part. There are lost sheep to be sought out by noticing those who have ceased to come and inviting them to join us once more. There are those who are suffering, who we can bring comfort by praying, visiting, phoning, and by offering many other small acts of kindness. And so by doing so, we can envelop them in the love of God. By cleansing the lepers, we might think about how we might reach out to those on the margins of our society, those who are vilified. You can probably come up with your own list. Those who are marginalised by race or culture, by disability or sexuality, or maybe just even by just being a bit weird. What might we think about in terms of casting out demons? How would we frame this in our society today? Be a little bit careful, but perhaps that those most modern demons of mental health issues that people often shy away from. What can we do in order to be listening people people who continue to support people. Again, not ostracizing people just because we think they've got mental health problems, but by helping in whatever way we can, in those small ways of listening, of caring. We continue today to be those labourers in the harvest, aware that the task is a mighty one, but also aware that our smallest actions will strengthen our faith and will proclaim the gospel in our actions as well as our words. It is not just the great ones who are called to be part of this, not just the saints in stained glass, not just those with fancy job titles, but everyone who professes our faith in God. We who have had the privilege of seeing God's glory, we all pray that we might share this precious gift that we have received with others, that we might all see that glory, that we might all be co-inheritors of that faith with saints and angels throughout the ages, for ordinary men and women, as well as those great ones, because it is in the small that things really happen.